Hello, lovely people. I am Evvia, and today we're going to be recording this tutorial for this yellow crochet dress. I've talked about it a lot on Instagram, and a lot of you guys gave me some very good motivation for filming this, which I think will be really fun. I have not watched any other tutorial videos in preparation for this video, but that's okay. We will be doing it in my own style, which hopefully will be quite casual, hopefully easy to follow along. I think it is very simple. If you can crochet a granny square, I believe that you can crochet this. You can make this dress in any yarn with any hook size. And we are going to be doing the made to measure thing where you are just making it and you hold it up to your body. I don't feel like it works for everything, but I do feel like it works for this dress. So you can use any hook size, any yarn. I made this one with some Laura Piana dead stock, which is very fancy, but I was given it for free. It's pure cotton, but it's really tapey. I don't know if you can see. So it has this really lovely drape to it. And I'm making this second version just with the cheapest yarn that I could find at the yarn store, which is 4-ply merino. Very delicious color there. And so you can make it with the wool, you can make it with cotton. I think if you were really going to make the best possible version of the dress, I would pick something with a lot of drape to it. So that would be a linen, or maybe even a mercerized cotton. It's just you can have a lot of different looks for it. It is very low back, and hopefully it'll be kind of tight just at your high hip area. And then we'll have it flare out a little bit. So you basically want something that will kind of settle down and fall to be at your hips. And so if you use a sticky yarn, we'll see what happens with the merino that I'm using, but it might just kind of retain its shape and not drape nicely. But yeah, you can use whatever you want. So I'll just give you a little outline as to where you start in the dress. So we'll start right here. We've got a little granny square beginning right there. And instead of making the full granny square, you see that we'll be having this little cutout. Each row will be avoiding this corner. I'll show you how to do it. Sorry, I'm not explaining it very well. And we'll make this section first. And so section 1 is make the front chest covering section. And then once we are able to hold it up to our body and it looks maybe how a camisole would on us, where these are kind of far enough apart, your chest is roughly covered, then we'll start just crocheting this bottom section here. And we'll go down in this bottom section all the way to there. And then we'll do this butt covering section, going back and forth there. And then we'll do this frilly skirt section. And so those are the I feel that's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sections. And then you can do some finishing and straps. I think it'll be relatively simple. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. So grab whatever yarn you're using and a crochet hook. So if you use a bigger hook, you're gonna have something very gappy, but something with a bit more drape. But I do find that using a 4mm hook is a good medium where it's not super gappy and it still has a bit of drape. And I would recommend using that with maybe leftover sock yarn or 4-ply or mercerized crochet cotton. To begin, we're going to start a normal granny square. And I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think that magic circles or magic loop should be done. I think we should cancel it. All you have to do is just do a little chain. So just gonna start off a chain. Let's chain 5. And you're probably gonna see that I'm just making this all up on the spot because it doesn't really matter at all. So chain 5, go back into your first loop and slip 1. And then pull your little first knot tight. And that's the perfect little new magic loop, I think, because you can still work into it, but it's not going to come undone. And then you can also crochet over the long end. So of course you're more than welcome to use magic loop. I personally would recommend that you do not do that, just because this is so much more stable. Okay, and so then let's begin our little granny square as normal. So this will be round 1. So we're gonna chain 3, 1, 2, 3, work a double crochet back into our new not magic loop, and another double crochet, and then we're going to chain 2, 2, and then, so that's our first little granny stitch, right? Go back into the middle, double crochet, double crochet, double crochet. So that's another granny stitch, chain 2. And then 3 more double crochet, chain 2, and let's crochet over that end. I'll weave it in properly afterwards, so don't worry. Final granny stitch, double crochet, crochet, double crochet. Okay, and so this is going to be the beginning of our little dress. So maybe 5 chain was a little bit too much, but I reckon it'll be a cute detail. So as I alluded to in the intro, we're going to be making like a 3/4 granny square. So you should be able to tell that we're just like missing out this quarter. And so the way I do that, I'm sure that there are plenty of different ways that you can do it, but I alternate rows where for the first row, I'll make all the granny stitches as normal. And then I'm going to chain 3 and work into all the holes, making the double granny stitch into the increase corners, working around, and then do a final double crochet into that first stitch that I made. And then chain 3 and work double crochet granny stitches into that little like leg. So you can see that it's alternating. Sorry, that was probably not a very smart way to describe it. But you can see that it's alternating between like a chain stitch or a double crochet stitch and then the full 3 granny stitch. And I think that it leaves like a relatively clean edge. And this is like the fundamental stitch, right? Like once we get down here, we'll be doing the exact same sort of edge thing to just build out this section afterwards. So for this second round, so I'm going to try and be super simple with this because once you master this, then you can do the rest of the dress, right? So for this first round, let's turn the work. So we're going backwards now. Then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. You can see that there are these 3 little increasey corners, which is where we did our chains last time. So in each of those, we're going to make 2 granny stitches. And what I've been calling a granny stitch is this little double crochet cluster, so of 3 double crochets. So we're going to basically do this exact same thing where we've got the 2 granny stitches. We're going to put them both in there with a chain 2 in between. We're going to do that for each side, and let's show you how it is done. So first granny stitch, and then chain 2, 1, 2, second granny stitch, and that's working into the same corner. There we go, and you see how it looks exactly like what was below, just reversed. And then without chaining, we're gonna go into the next little corner. So let's do the exact same thing. So 1 granny stitch, and then chain 2, 1, 2, another granny stitch into the same corner, perfect. That's the same thing again. And then next corner, sorry about this little end, 1 granny stitch, chain 2, second granny stitch. All right, and so that's used up all of our little corners. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make 1 final double crochet in between the stitch where we've got our little first chain 3 and then the 2 double crochets. We're going to put our crochet hook underneath that chain and work a double crochet into that. And that'll just anchor it on the bottom there. So that's what we've got, looking like that. All right, so round 3. So let's turn our work again. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And so on this row, this is where we'll work a granny stitch into this little gap that we've just made there. So do 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet right into there. There we go. And so that's kind of lining it up with that one below. And then we can go ahead and continue working around as normal. And so at the end of the row, we'll also do that, the granny stitch into that little gap there. So now we're reaching the end, and so I can see that we've got our little hole there. I'm gonna work one more granny stitch into there. Okay, so this is basically the repeat for how we're going to make our little 3/4 granny square. And we're basically just going to continue doing this, growing it out until it covers your chest. This is what this little square looks like on me. And just basically work to whatever would be like a normal camisole for you. The one thing that is quite important is that you do want these little tippy edges to be at a place where like it would be reasonable for a strap to go across you. And so once you've gotten to this level, then we are ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so we're ready to start section 2. Go ahead and just cut or break your yarn and leave a nice long tail so that you can weave it in. But so what we're gonna do now is we're going to just be doing the same sort of technique where we continue our granny square, but we're just working on this bottom half. So we're gonna grab our yarn end. So let's flip the work, no matter where you tied it off. And let's find this corner here. So we've got our 2 little points, right? Let's grab one of the corners on either side. And let's tie on our yarn. I'm just going to tie a little knot, and I will, of course, weave in my end afterwards. Nice long end. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and chain 3. So just grab that yarn. 1, 2, 3. Let's turn the work a little bit so we're facing this way. And we're going to make a granny stitch into this increase line. So that's 2 more double crochets. And even though we are on an increase line, we're no longer wanting to work this out that way. So we're just going to put 1 granny stitch into there, and that'll be like our new edge, right? So it'll be a new straight line going that way. And then we're going to just go ahead and work all the way around there until we get to this side where we'll put 1 more granny stitch in there. And it's so simple. And then we'll just keep doing that for a long time. Like this is probably the longest section, I'd say, because we've got to work from where like the bottom of your bust is all the way down to your hip. All right, so just finished the first row. And so you can see that I've just got like that straight line there on either side, which is exactly what we're after. And to begin the next row, we're going to turn the work as always, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're just going to work straight into that next little gap in between the granny stitches. And so this is exactly as you've been doing it before on that first section. And you should be able to see that it will leave this little edge where you've got your chain and then the granny stitch. And so this section is going to take you a long time because it goes all the way from like around here-ish down to there. And so you should feel pretty comfortable to just go ahead and start crocheting all the way down. And you can keep like holding the little piece up to you and just check that these bits here aren't like overlapping in the back. And I don't think that they will be unless you have like a really long torso or the teensiest little micro waist we've ever seen. And so I think for the general person, you'll probably be reaching some sort of area around your hip, and you'll still have a little bit of a gap in the back, and that's exactly what we're after. I'll show you how it looks on me as I progress. Okay, so I have been crocheting for a couple of hours now and I've reached my desired length of the front panel. So you can see that this has reached like down to kind of where my crotch is almost, like my true like low hip measurement. And so what we're gonna do now is you're gonna put this up to your body and we're going to see how many stitches we'll need to do to join these two sections, the long section, around in the back. So you can just put this up to your body, measure around the rib cage area. I'm gonna just do this very loosely. So I'm measuring like that much, like 3 inches or so. And that's how much we're going to join in the back here. All right, so I'm gonna show you how we'll join this in the round. So pop your panel on the ground. You can see that we've got our little long end just after one of these rows. We're going to fold these corners in so that they make a flat line, just like that. And this will be the distance that we'll be making our little chain or foundation stitch across to join at the back of the rib cage. So when I measured, I had about like that much to do to join these two together. And since we're doing granny stitches, we'll just want to make sure that our chain is a multiple of 3. So I'm gonna go ahead with my crochet hook, do it right where you can see it. And I'm gonna chain in multiples of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, a bit more, 1, 2, 3. All right, that looks about right to me. I'm going to secure this onto the other side here, just with a little slip stitch. And I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a very long tail to weave in, and just tie that in a knot. Okay, so you should now find that this is joined in the round, which is really exciting.
So you could even just leave it like at this level, add your little straps, and you'd have a very cute like handkerchiefy top. I feel like that would be really good if you did this in silk yarn or something. And it's just got such a cute little back. And I feel like it would be so cute with like a halter neck thing, even just like a little ribbon to tie around or a chain. So cool.
Okay, so section 3 is where things get just like a little bit more unusual because we're moving away from like the typical granny square structure. So we're going to be tying on our yarn just at the very bottom of our increase corner in the very front, and we're going to be crocheting all the way around, or we put our little chain in the back or foundation stitch, back around to the increase corner of the front, but on the other side. And then we're going to reduce by 1 granny stitch and work all the way back around the other way. And I'll show you what it looks like on the dress. So this will make it so that we've got this like flat line in the front, but it will give us a bunch of coverage in the butt because we'll be basically filling in this whole section. Grab your yarn and find the front increase corner. So that's just the long end, right where you've got the little triangle tip of your granny square. And we're just gonna tie on our yarn. Just like before, I'm just gonna go ahead and do a normal, simple knot. I'll weave in the end afterwards. We're going to go ahead and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then in the next granny stitch gap, going to make 3 double crochets, just a normal granny stitch. And we're gonna do the same in the next one, and the next one. And we're going to do this all the way across until we reach our little chain. All right, so I've made it from our little edge all the way over to the chain. So what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to double crochet. We're going to go into the second chain that we've made. I like to just get it where I have 2 loops of the chain caught and then make a double crochet. Because we're just doing the granny stitch, we're going to make 2 more double crochets into that same chain. Just like that, perfect. And then skip 2 chains and do the exact same thing the third chain along. So you can see that we've made it across, perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and just crochet in all of those next granny stitches as before until we reach that final corner. Okay, so I've almost made it back around. You can see that this is where we tied on our yarn. So I'm going to make a granny stitch just in that penultimate spot. And then into the same hole where we tied on our yarn, I'm just going to make a single double crochet. Just like that. And you can see that it's already making a little bit of a flat edge right there. Let's turn our work. What we're gonna do first is make 3 chain stitches. And then instead of working into that gap that we've just made, we're going to skip it and we're going to move into the next gap, the next granny stitch. And so it's gonna create a bit of an angle, right? Let's show you what it looks like. So here's our granny stitch. And so it's like we're reducing our granny stitches, right? And so that's how we're going to create this flat line at the bottom of our dress. We're just going to do granny stitches all the way, including into the ones in the chain, just between them, right? All the way back around to here. Okay, so I've made it back around to almost where I tied on that yarn the first time. So you can see that's where I tied on at that main increase line right there. And then I chain 3, worked my way around, and now we're back. So in that chain 3, I'm going to make 1 more double crochet, and then I'll be chaining 3 and turning the work, working back down that way. I'll show you what that looks like. So once again, we chain our 3, but then we don't work into that hole that we've just made. We skip 1 and work into the next granny stitch. All right, so you can see that we're kind of making this flat line, which we've already mentioned. We're decreasing by 1 granny stitch each time. You can see this nice little angle that we're making with this chain border. And so you should kind of be able to see that it's beginning to form this little flat line right there where we stopped doing our increases. And so just continue working that back and forth. It'll end up filling in this whole butt section really nicely. And you'll kind of start to see it coming along, but you can basically, like I'll show you in the next section when to stop doing this. But it'll get to a level where it's kind of covering your butt and it looks like a very, very, very long camisole or a mini dress. But yeah, enjoy. Another big section for you to work on. Okay, hello, update. Disaster of epic proportions. I've totally ran out of yarn and this is all I've made. I don't know what I was thinking. I only got like 200 grams of yarn, and crochet is just such a yarn gobbler, and I feel like when I'm knitting most of the time I kind of can get away with making like an entire dress out of 100 grams, and no, so that was not the case. So we're going to color block, and then maybe afterwards I'll frog and like redo it with the actual yarn. But anyway, so this is how it's looking. So you can see I've got my nice flat line. Actually, I'll pop it on for you. So first try on, I actually haven't even tried it on at all yet. Okay, so I think this is looking very cute. I wish I could just leave it as a little top. Okay, so this is where we tied on our yarn for section 3. And you can see that we've got this nice little flat edge. It looks like that. You can kind of see the whole chain, double crochet, decrease thing going on. And then on the back, it looks like this. So in an ideal world, I'd probably have like another ball of yarn and a half. And I'll continue going back and forth like this until this whole section would sit like right there. So yeah, I just wanted to do a little update before I have to change yarn. I'm going to dig around. I think I have some nice like light green cotton that might look similar to this, and then some kind of funky orangey cotton, or maybe cashmere, but I don't know if I should be using nice cashmere in this. Also, like, time check, It is 5:30 now, and I've been doing this since, I think I started filming at 8:30 or 9 in the morning. Consumed a lot of content. I listened to like a bootleg copy of the new Hunger Games book, which I thought was fine. Like, it was shockingly exactly the same as all the other ones. Like, maybe in my mind they've merged into the same thing. Just other random YouTube videos. I'm currently watching something about how to time travel into medieval Europe. And so that's on my little rotation for the day. I'll switch up the colors. Hopefully I can finish up this main body section. And yeah, we'll give you some little updates once I do the color blocking. I hope it isn't too ugly and that it doesn't dissuade you guys. Good morning, I just woke up. I finished doing this last night. And I think I'm ready to move on to the main skirt section. So you can see that I've kind of got it to a level where it's like covering my butt a little bit. But this is where I would recommend that you stop. So you just try it on, you lift up the front. This fits beautifully right at my low hips. And so we're ready to move on to the next section. So I'm going to continue working in the cashmere, and then I think I'll do the little frilly bit in maybe a different color. Just kind of lean into the new found scrappy nature. Just finish your last row of the butt shaping section on the right side. So it should be like whatever side you want to be facing outwards up. And we're going to go ahead and just do a single crochet border all the way around this entire bottom section. So the way I'm going to do that is we finish on just the double crochet right there. I'm just going to make a little chain, and then I'm going to work 2 single crochets into that double crochet, and then 3 single crochets into every other chain across. So that'll take us all the way around and back to the other side, where we'll just make single crochets into each of these granny stitches, into each of the double crochets. So I'll just get started on that. Okay, done. That took absolutely ages. So I've just made it back around to where I started. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that first single crochet that I made. And then we're going to do our next round of the border crochet. So let's chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then let's chain another 2. 1, 2. And we're going to go ahead and make double crochets with chain 2 in between into every 3rd single crochet that we've done. So since we've chained 5, we can go ahead and work into that 3rd one along. And then chain 2. 1, and then skip 2 underneath, double crochet into the next one. And we're going to go ahead and do that all the way around back to where we began. So we've made it back around. We've got our lovely little border crochet. I'm just going to go ahead and slip into the 3rd chain that we began with, if I can. Oh my god, I'm having some trouble. Alright, there we go. So it's delightful. We've got it going all the way around. Getting rid of the cashmere. So the reason that we do this little border grid crochet all the way around is so that if you want to size up your needle to say like an 8mm, 10mm, something even bigger, you'd be able to get the hook tip in between the stitches even better. And so if you wanted to do that, I would recommend trying it out with like an 8mm needle first, and then just go ahead and tie on your yarn where we cast off. Go ahead and start making granny stitches into each of these. And I would say just make your normal 3 double crochet into each of them, and then you can just continue working in rounds like that until you get a skirt. However, very sadly, because I just keep on making mistakes, I only brought this hook with me. So what I'm going to do instead is size up my yarn. So let me grab what I am considering. The game plan is to use this like mohair blend that I thrifted for the base. I think that it'll make it all a bit like flouncier. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'll work a treble stitch into these instead of just the normal double crochet. So I'll do 3 trebles into each of them, and I'll just do that in rounds until I get enough coverage. And we'll see if this mini hook is too annoying for me to use or not. And another idea, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, that's looking good. Treble in. Yeah, this is gonna give me wrist strain there. So we'll just do the 4mm, which is fine. Oh my god, the mohair is so tricky. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing, all the way around into each of them. Another idea here is that if you are a knitter, a knitted skirt would also look really cute. And I would say, if you wanted to do that, don't do this little grid stitch, just go ahead and cast on or pick up stitches straight through those single crochets that you've made all around. And maybe use like, I don't know, a 6mm needle for that. I think that that'll give you plenty of flounce and drape. It'll be lovely. All right, so I'm just gonna continue doing this. This will probably take me like a few hours, honestly. But I think it's a good color combo. I think it'll be kind of fun. Maybe I'll brush it out afterwards as well. All right, so we are doing so well. So I ended up only doing 3 little rows of the treble crochet here, so you can kind of see it. And then I brushed it out with a little mohair brush, and so you can see that even though it is like really short, obviously, there's still plenty of coverage in the back, and like I probably could have done a few fewer rows in the back. But yeah, I love it. I think it's actually like really wearable. So anyway, now we're on to the straps. So the easiest thing to do if you wanted to just keep it super simple would just be to chain some stitches from each of these corners and then do like a little halter neck thing. Personally, I kind of like it most when they're more spaghetti straps going back around to like here-ish. Sorry, I had to put on an ugly bra so that I'm not flashing you guys constantly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little piece of string, and you can kind of just measure how long you need it to be to connect from the tip. I think right there would be nice. If you wanted it to be pretty stable, you could do a bit of a thick strap connecting down to the bottom there. Kind of depends on what you're after. I quite like it when it's just like the little hooky straps to there. So I'm going to chain something from the corner that's around that long, and I will be sadly using more of the cashmere just because it's the only like yellow yarn that I have now. So another thing that you could do is do a little single crochet border all the way around, and then do the chaining after that. But yeah, I'm sure that if you're comfortable like crocheting this far, you'll be able to decide what sort of little straps you'll want and play around with it. But yeah, it just depends on what sort of look you want. There's so many options. And then yeah, just play around with the length. But I'll finish mine off. I'm tempted to put like a little row of fuzzy mohair on the straps as well. Okay, hello legends. So I have finished the dress. I ended up just doing like chain straps. So just something really easy. I'll give you a little twirl around. I really like the bottom of it. I think that that's really cute. I think the back is like, it could be better. Like if I had more of this yarn, I feel like it would have been so good. But it's okay. It's different, it's handmade, it's cute, it's crafty, which is what we love. I think especially like if you wear a jacket over the top of it, this whole mohair trim is really cute. I feel like I've seen some little mini skirts that have this sort of like candy princess look. So I'm really into it, and it has enough coverage that I would feel really comfortable wearing it just like this. Alright, just having to refilm my little outro because I accidentally filmed it in slow motion. So anyway, I hope that you had a brilliant time watching this video. I hope it was not too confusing. I hope that you had more yarn than I did, and that you've chosen some smart summer materials instead because I'm like sweating right now. But yeah, if you post your dress or if you like take photos of it or anything, please send them to me or tag me in it on Instagram. I would love to see. I'd love to see your color combos, what you do, how you make it yours. Yeah, I'm very keen. And also, like, let me know if there's anything that was super confusing in this or something that I should do better in the future tutorials that I will hopefully be making. I am just a beginner at this whole long form, well, at content stuff in general, but I love making things, as you probably know, and I would love to share more with you. So if you have any tips and tricks, also pop them down in the comments. And if you have any questions as well, I'll try and keep an eye on the comments. So hopefully I can answer them for you or somebody else will be nice and helpful. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will be making more of these. Thank you for joining. Thank you for keeping me company. And I will see you in the next one.